Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it a second chance might just change your mind.
Here, we take that chance for you, and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this time will be Lifeline. So if you've listened to the previous interstitial, you already know we were going to do this show. Not necessarily this time, but that it was happening soon. Lifeline is a YouTube original series that was technically originally on YouTube Red before they changed it to Premium because, they named it a bad service.
And produced and made by Corridor Digital.
Yeah.
It's also executively produced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson,
who does appear in the first episode of the show.
And based on a book from the 1980s by James Belmont called Lifeline.
No, that part I was unaware of.
It's actually a series of books, not just one book. The Lifeline book takes place in a retro-futuristic future.
Okay.
Where everybody is implanted with a device that tracks when they will die.
Okay.
And the government and thus insurance agencies can intervene to save people before they die.
But obviously they only do it for people they care about who are, aka, important to the government.
I'm not really sure because the plot of those books is actually about a serial killer who is managing to kill people despite the Lifeline system.
Oh, quite different from what I got from the first two episodes of this show, but okay.
Yeah, this show is based on, not
yeah.
It's not a one-to-one. That's what I thought.
Honestly, I think that's the type of situation where we should be using the term inspired by instead, but,
Yeah, that's fair.
But episode 1 of Lifeline is called In 33 Days, You'll Die. And it starts with a woman opening the door to a guy in a suit who is immediately like, your password is Hummingbird.
I was wrong. The books weren't written in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah?
The author was born in the 1980s. I don't know when the book was written.
Still fine. Like, we know it's based on a book series.
Mm-hmm.
But, so it opens with a woman opening the door to a guy in a suit, and he's immediately like, your password is Hummingbird. And she's like, wait, what? Oh, you're with Lifeline. You're one of the agents. And she's like, what's wrong? He's like, in 33 days, you'll die.
And then we get to the opening title card, which is very boring.
Yeah.
This opening title card does nothing for anyone.
It shows a screen with some lines on it, and occasionally they're green or red.
We'll later learn that these are timelines.
Yes.
So,
once we get back from the opening credit, we are back to the same woman from earlier, and she's walking through like an apartment foyer to an elevator.
And she's fiddling with a engagement ring.
Yeah.
Which she then drops down the front of an elevator shaft, like that little crack between the door and the elevator.
Yeah, the one that you're always paranoid you will drop something in.
My phone, God.
Yeah.
Especially with how thin phones have gotten, I'm like,
yeah.
If I drop my phone just right, it's gone.
Yeah, especially when you get to those like older elevators where you have a gap that's about an inch and a half wide.
Yeah.
You're like, I could just lose my phone down that. Like, that thing could just go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she actually dropped something in that crack. So then we find her walking along with a guy who, she says his name, but I don't recall
He's either the maintenance man or the actual owner of the apartment buildings.
Yeah, he's probably the superintendent of the building.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's a large enough city that I assume some company owns this, so they pay a superintendent to manage the property.
And they are in that area underneath the elevator, in the elevator shaft, looking for her ring. She's worried because she doesn't want to lose her fiance's ring before they're even married. Yeah.
And the guy's like, yeah, I understand. Oh, is this it? Finds the ring, holds it up, and she's like, yeah, cool.
And before this, she had asked, is it even safe to be down here?
Yeah, and the guy's like, yeah, no, it's no problem. Which, fair, it's generally no problem. There's like 10 feet buffer room in an elevator shaft at the bottom.
Is it 10 feet? I thought it was much less than that.
I think it's like 5 to 10 depending on the construction of the elevator. And like, from my understanding, the bottom portion is normally like small enough that like the elevator car is actually bigger than the space below it. So it just kind of hits like cement block that I think is reinforced with like rebar and a bunch of shit. But obviously she's not safe. She's going to die in 33 days, and this is her dying.
Yep, the elevator starts falling. She manages to pry open the elevator door, get her arm out the elevator door.
And scream for help.
And then the elevator drops and cuts her arm off.
Yep. And then we cut to a random guy in a like
office building.
A techie looking office building. And he's just like,
Client 247 just went red.
Yeah, and
Get me Connor hooks.
Yeah, there's a big giant red thing on the screen with her face on it. And when we cut to here, it does say in big white text on the bottom of the screen, 33 days earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So then he says, get me Connor hooks. And we cut to a guy and a woman in a bed kissing. And then a phone call comes through. And the woman's like, oh, it must be your turn. You jumped last.
Yeah. So Connor answers the phone. We then cut to him walking into Lifeline, where he's given a brief description of the issue, and then he's put in this giant box.
Yeah,
and it jumps him forward 33 days.
Yep.
The box itself is probably designed to be reminiscent of like a tesseract.
Yeah. So
because the inside is a like mirrored,
it's a mirror box.
It's a mirrored cube inside, but like it expands in different directions further.
Yeah, it's a mirror box.
Yeah.
When he's getting briefed, he's told 33-year-old female, dead. I assume an accident. Her password is Hummingbird.
Yeah.
So he gets in the box, and when he's in there, like you said, it's weird, Tesseract-y. And then he says location locked, and then says jump. And just before he does that, when he says location locked, we get like, it looks vaguely like the foyer, like in the reflections.
Yeah.
Then when he jumps, we get, honestly, almost kind of Terminator-esque light flashes when he resolves. Because like, it does seem like he jumps like the tiniest bit, like maybe an inch from the ground.
Yeah.
And
he lands in the apartment hall.
And we get like the dissolving like lightning-ish effect from like Terminator stuff.
Yeah.
But it isn't like a floating 3D square for the room.
And then he hears a woman screaming for help, runs towards it, pries open the elevator door, pulls her out of the elevator, and the elevator falls and kills the superintendent.
Who is yelling for someone to also help him.
And she's like, why didn't you even try to save him?
He's like, you're the client, not him.
And then we cut to The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Like,
executive producer of the television show Lifeline.
Yeah, and he's like, look, yeah, I use Lifeline. There's a bunch of shit you can pay for in life, a bunch of frivolous purchases. I've definitely made a bunch of unnecessary purchases.
Like the XFL.
Yeah. And he's like, but when I say Lifeline is one of the best purchases I've ever made, I mean it. Look, a bunch of stuff was going to happen, and I'm not getting into the details. Lifeline saved my life. It is like one of the most important things you can buy. And then we pull back and we see a woman is watching this video of a customer testimonial from Dwayne The Rock Johnson when a woman walks into the room with her and is like, hey,
Miranda, I've heard you've been having second thoughts.
Let's sell you this item today, basically. So Miranda's like, okay, well, how does your stuff work? And the woman whose name we'll learn in a moment is called Jasmine, the sales rep, is like, it's really complicated. So have you ever lost your phone?
Well, first she explains that the Lifeline device constantly keeps track of your vitals, and then when it detects something is wrong, it sends Lifeline, the company, a warning.
Yeah.
So that a Lifeline agent can intervene.
Yeah. And the woman's like, okay. And then Jasmine simplifies and is like, have you ever lost your phone? And Miranda, who's an older woman, goes, I used to all the time before my son installed one of those Find My Phone things. She's like, exactly. It's like that.
This is a Find My Miranda app.
Yeah. And the woman's like, oh, so you constantly know where I am. You're constantly tracking me. And Jasmine kind of just skirts it and like, look, it only takes a second, pulls out a photo of a child and is like,
well, she's like, we keep our data
private, yeah.
Incredibly safe and private.
Yeah. And then she's like, look, I consider myself overprotective. Pulls out a picture of her kid and is like, it only took a few seconds to look away for him to wander in the street and almost get hit by a car.
But a Lifeline agent saved him.
Because luckily he has it. So Miranda looks at the picture and is like, okay, fine, I'll take it.
And so there's this big white cuff.
Yeah.
Which Jasmine slips over Miranda's arm, closes it.
It honestly looks like the upper portion of a Super Saiyan glove, like from the same battle armor. It's that big and chunky.
For me, it reminds me of Marvin.
Oh, fair. It would also make me think of
the terminally depressed robot.
Fair, because of how big and white and chunky it is. It also makes me think of Syndrome's
yeah.
remote cuffs that he uses in The Incredibles.
But anyways, upon closing and hitting the button, it installs a Lifeline chip into the palm side of your forearm, and it leaves like a pretty noticeable scar.
I mean, it's not really a scar. That is the implant. You can see it. It sticks up a bit. It's three-dimensional.
Okay.
It's, there's a name for them. I can't remember what they are.
Subdermal implants?
I'm talking about for the type of thing it is, because it's not technically a chip. It's a small glass vial with an electrode of some sort in it.
Yeah.
There's a name for them. I can't remember what they're called. But it's a small cylindrical little... There's even a word for that type of... Oh, it's a small little cylindrical ampule with something in it. Some form of electronic in it.
So, Jasmine secures the cell with Miranda, gets up to leave, and runs into another sales agent who's like, can I have the picture of my son back now?
Next time you close using my family, I get half your closing cost.
Half the commission.
Yeah, half the commission. That's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
And then she's like, also, Nathan wants to see you in his office.
And Jasmine's like, what for? She's like,
Nathan, as we find out, is like the CEO, owner, founder of Lifeline.
Yes.
So...
Jasmine walks in to see him, and he's like, so, you nervous? And she's like, yeah, kind of. He's like, good, that's smart. Anyways, you do a really, really great job here. can you keep a secret? And she's like, yeah, I definitely can if I know what it is. And she's like, it's not about if you will, about if you can. It's you will if you take this job I'm offering you. And he explains that, like, they have growing customer bases. He needs people to cover more files in case management, basically.
Yeah, and here he goes on to exposit about how the Lifeline system actually works, in that the Lifeline implant is constantly receiving data from itself 33 days in the future.
Well, he goes into that after she says sure, because now they're walking in the office building that the jump box is in.
Yeah.
That's what I call the big black box.
He also then shows her the jump chamber, the jump box, which is what is used to launch agents 33 days into the future to intervene in these situations.
Which he explains is a one-way trip.
He also explains that they have to do it in this particular way because the future is fixed up until the very moment in question.
Yeah, because he explains this when she asks, well, if you know they're going to die in 32 days, why don't you like just surround them with guards and put them in a bunker? Mm-hmm. He's like, the future wants to happen.
And there's no way to divert the client's fate except by diverting into entirely new timelines.
Yes, the jump box creates a change in the timeline.
And specifically it doesn't go into a lot of detail here, but I know I watched this entire series before, my memory is terrible. What I do know is, in this world, scientifically speaking, time is completely locked for 33 days. For 32 days and like a bunch of like
minutes,
rounding errors. So, in order to intervene and change time, you have to do it 33 days in the future.
Yeah, so apparently time, like, wants to happen a certain way and then coalesces to form this path. Mm-hmm. So it's more malleable just past that. Mm-hmm. You have enough of what time is going to be that there's a little wiggle room to, like, avert things, change things ever so slightly, but the majority of what's happening is kind of set in stone.
Essentially, in the world of Lifeline, and I think this is true for the books as well, everything that you do cements the next 32 days of your future.
Yeah.
And again, change. It's like 32 days, hours, and minutes. It's why the 33-day jump window. So anything beyond that is malleable and changeable. You can alter time after that. But anything within that 32 and change is locked forever.
Yeah. So from there, we cut to a young woman fixing some spaghetti on a stove when a man walks in. He's her father. He calls out to her. Her name is Nora.
Yep.
And he has something hidden under his jacket. And she's like, I'm in here, I'm finishing up dinner. And she comes out with 2 bowls of spaghetti. And he's like, look, I got something for you.
It's not a dog. I know you wanted a dog.
But it's this. He puts a fishbowl on the table. And she's like, cool, what's up? And he's like, look, no, it's not like that. Trust me. I'm clean. I have good news. And she's like, yeah? He's like, yeah, I got it. I got a job. She's like, that's great. That's really good. I'm really proud of you. And he's like, the bad news is it's at night.
Overnight, working at a local parking garage. But good news, it's close enough that I don't have to pay for a bus fare. I can just walk there.
Yeah, it's walkable. I can, grab there. Not have to worry about anything. But I do have to leave you every night, which I'm not happy about.
Well, not every night. 5 nights a week.
Yeah. And she's like, well, stop trying to self-sabotage. This is good. And this fish means, at least I'll have someone here when you abandon me every night. And he's like, come on, it's not like that. She's like, I know. It was a joke.
We then cut to a drunk man and a drunk woman who are about to get into a car when Connor's wife, Haley, materializes out of nowhere.
Yep.
And she's like in a corner of the parking lot. They don't see her materialize.
And she's fast walking over to them and is immediately
She
yelling,
calls out the woman's name.
Stephanie.
And then she starts saying like, Blackbird. Your password is Blackbird.
And the woman is super drunk and very confused. She's like, what?
The guy's like, is that your mom?
She's kind of hot.
And then Haley grabs Stephanie and pulls her out of the car.
And is like, your password is Blackbird. Do you understand? And Stephanie, the drunk woman, is eventually like, oh. And the guy gets upset because his girlfriend or hookup or whatever has been pulled out of the car. And he's like, what do you think you're doing?
It's a hookup because she didn't know what his car was. He's like, it's sweet, right?
Oh, yeah. And he gets upset, and Haley walks around the car, pulls the keys out of the ignition, and just tosses them away. Mm-hmm. The guy's like, what the fuck? Punches her in the face.
And she proceeds to
judo flip him over her fucking shoulder.
Yeah.
And hold his arm behind his back in a position that will break it if he tries to move much more.
And then we cut to Haley arriving home, which surprises Connor, who didn't expect her home so soon. Because,
he's like,
again, when you jump 33 days into the future, so even though he just jumped, he didn't know when she jumped, so he didn't know if he'd see her before he jumped again.
Because since they both apparently jump, say if she didn't, he jumped 33 days in the future. She would exist 33 days without him, but she would ostensibly still be there. Yeah. But because she also jumps, it's very easy to offset time. Say he jumps 33 days in the future. She jumps on day 32. They don't see each other for effectively a month.
Yeah, 2 months, probably.
Yeah.
But also, we learn here that the agents get a 3-day cooldown when they return from a jump.
Yep.
Well, return quotation marks.
Yeah.
When they finish a jump. So their 3 days off lines up together.
Mm-hmm. And then he sees her face, because originally he was like at the table, then he was going through some stuff by the bureau. And he's like, what happened? And she's like, there was this drunk couple.
She explains what just happened.
Yeah, and the guy's companion the girl's companion got a little upset.
And they get into an argument because he is like, look, this is why we don't save non-clients. Like, they're not our job. You're putting yourself in additional danger.
I wasn't going to let anyone drive that junk. That's fucked up. Why does his life matter more than her? Why does her life matter more than his?
And he's like, because she pays us?
She's like, that's fucked up. That's awful. And he's like, it's not awful. The only awful thing about this is you almost getting your nose knocked off and kissing your face at the moment because it's fucked up. Which, to be fair, her face is covered in blood on one side.
So Connor then heads back to the office.
Where he meets Jasmine, who is just reorganizing all the files because apparently it's massively disorganized.
And she was promoted while he was on a jump,
So she's organizing the files because, like you said, she was promoted. And apparently the organization is fucking horrible. The agents aren't assigned to specific people. They kind of just called in at random. And she's talking to him, and she's like, basically like, why are you here? And he's like, well, trying to save someone, trying to save a life. And she's like, here's the file. If you need me, I'll be here. He's like, yeah.
We then do a brief montage of Connor and Haley jumping, and then their downtime.
Trying to squeeze in a bunch of holidays or big events.
And how their downtime keeps getting interrupted by calls from Lifeline, needing them to jump again.
So, in the one we stop on, Connor gets a call, so he heads out. We actually stay with Jasmine for a bit. She's just doing some basic house stuff. I think she's folding some laundry or something. When she gets a knock on the door, she walks over to it and opens it. And she's like, oh, Detective Grundy. So that's a person she knows. They're very immediately friendly with another. And she's like, you just missed Connor. And he's like, I know. I waited till he left.
Yeah, and he's here. Well, he's here to offer her a job, but first she congratulates him on making sergeant, and he's like,
yeah, I did.
That was 2 years ago. And she's like, well, you should come by more often.
And he's like, I do. I come by all the time. And you guys are never here.
She's like, yeah, we travel a lot. Yeah, we travel.
Look, so-and-so's about to retire. I want to bring you back on. I got permission to do it without having to open the position up or anything. I can bring you straight in.
It's a 2-rank promotion.
And she's like, that's really good, but Connor and I are happy with what we're doing. We're saving people. We are helping people. And it's like, yeah, as insurance agents, where nothing's like ever talked about what you guys do or how your company really works.
And she's like, I would love to tell you, I'd love to explain it, but I can't really get into details.
It's complicated.
But we are making the world a better place. We are doing good work. And so he says goodbye, and he's like, you haven't aged at all.
Yep.
Because they skipped 33 days at a time. So
yeah.
Every 36 days of your life is 3 days for them.
Yeah. So basically they jump a little less than 12 times a year. A year is gone.
Oh, it's about 11 times a year.
Yeah, I said a little less than 12. So then we cut back to... Well, we don't cut back to anything. It's now morning. Connor and Haley are laying in bed. The alarm goes off.
Which means this is over a month later.
Yeah. The alarm goes off. And, I was about to go off. Connor's like, hey, turn that off before it goes off. She's like, why do we even say it? He's like, I want to get as much time with my wife in the morning as I can.
And then they get a phone call, and Haley is called in for a jump.
Yes. And we follow her this time.
Yep. Specifically, she's called in to protect a Porter Booth, who has the highest insurance premiums they have because he's the highest risk they have.
Yeah.
Because it turns out Porter Booth is a career criminal.
Yeah. Literally, the guy, briefly knows, is like, you prepared for this job? And we see her that this time she is packing a gun. So we already know it's going to be kind of dangerous. She gets in the jump box and ends up in a parking garage.
Yeah, she jumps to a parking garage, like you said.
And then we cut to Jasmine.
We cut back to Lifeline, and we don't see the board itself. But
Jasmine's at her new desk. It's nice and organized.
But something goes wrong on the board, and Jasmine turns to one of the techs and goes, is that supposed to happen?
Yeah, red light, buzzer going off. She's like, is that normal? That's supposed to happen?
We then cut to Connor, who just saved somebody's life, a Lifeline agent. He gives him the password. The guy calls him a prick and walks off.
Yeah.
And Connor's like, I just saved your life, dude.
Yeah. But then he gets a call. That's some guy we don't know. He's like,
with voice distortion.
I need you to beat the board. Which we have gotten referenced like once originally when Nathan's explaining to Jasmine. The board is what they call the screen with all the timeline and stuff. And you don't beat the board, basically. You do what it says because beating the board would be trying to go against the timeline. The thing that Nathan said can't be done.
Yeah, specifically the voice asks if Connor thinks he can beat the board, and Connor says, board can't be beaten.
Yeah, and the guy's like, well, I want you to.
Haley went red 33 days ago, which in world terms means she's about to die today.
Yeah. They sent another agent. The other agent failed.
And so Connor's like, where is she? Tell me now. He gets the address, and he takes off running.
There are guys from Lifeline after him. The guy does I want you to get to her before they get to you. We do see some people chasing him, assumedly to stop him from intervening with the timeline.
So,
and the entire time during this phone call, we are getting flashes of a fish being scooped up with a little fish scooper.
Yeah, because Nora drops her fishbowl, cuts her hand open, and while this is happening, Haley is stalking Porter in the garage.
And so after the phone call and Connor takes off, we cut mainly to Nora.
Yeah.
Wrapping her hand, running into the parking garage, and meeting up with her father.
Yeah, and while she's doing this, the drug deal starts to go down. But turns out the guys the Porter's meeting with have no intention of paying him. They're going to kill him.
Yeah.
They're tired of his shit, apparently. And Porter's like, you have no idea the type of protection I have.
And just as he says that, Haley pulls out a gun and is like, put your guns down, because there's literally a gun to the back of Porter's head.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy holding the gun to Porter's head tells his mook, Skinny, shooter.
We don't know Skinny's name yet.
No, he literally says that.
Oh, okay.
We just don't know that's his street name. We learn that next episode.
Okay.
Shooter, and he's like, nah, man, she seems like a cop. So there's this bit of a standoff, but that's interrupted by Connor immediately showing up, pointing a gun. He's like, yo, Haley, go, get out of here. Him and Haley bicker briefly. She's like, what are you even doing here? He's like, you need to run. You're going to die. He's like, I'm not going to let this guy get killed. And then a firefight starts. And the drug dealer himself, not Porter, the person holding Porter at gunpoint, got shot by Connor. Skinny takes cover behind the SUV, blind fires out of it, and hits Haley in the chest twice. Yep. And then takes the fuck off in the SUV with his boss pulled into it. So Connor gives pursuit on foot. He's taking pot shots at the SUV, shoots out the window, which causes Skinny to duck, not paying attention to where he's going. And Nora and her father, who are going to the break room to get a medical kit to fix up her hand, are in the direct line of the SUV. Which then proceeds to smash Nora's father in between. Well, he doesn't just smash her father. He pushes her out of the way. It would have killed her too. Yeah. And then smashes him against another car. Yep. And then Skinny backs the fuck up and drives away. And Connor runs up, seeing a now dead man that he's kind of vaguely responsible for. And he's trying to calm down Nora. When up pull a bunch of suit-style black cars. Lifeline's founder Nathan and a fixer team. Yep. They start fanning out. Nathan orders the crew to wipe her mind, triple dose. And clean up the mess. So they inject the girl with something to erase the last few hours from memory. And they are currently gassing Connor with something. And the episode ends. Yep. So, thoughts on episode 1 of Lifeline. In 33 days, you'll die. Yeah, I'll go first. The dialogue is stilted. It doesn't sound like real dialogue. The effects are decent. Like, they're good. Yeah. The actual, plot is fine, although they don't explain enough about how the timeline stuff works, so it feels like a plot hole. It feels like a bunch of plot holes sitting around time travel. Fair. Let's see. Dialogue. I don't think the dialogue's always stilted. I think it has this weird combination of being, honestly supernatural. Not supernatural, but very natural. And then stilted. Yes. Because, some of the conversations between Haley and Connor feel fine. And then some of them feel stilted, like the conversation after she shows up with her face busted up. Oh, the fourth point. They fridge the wife in episode 1. They do fridge the wife in episode 1. We know nothing about Haley other than that she used to be a cop and that she's married to Connor. Yeah. And they fridge her. Yeah. On a different note, Detective Grundy is played by the same actor who plays Sheriff Stilinski in Teen Wolf. Yes. But you didn't notice that until the second time watching the show on the second episode. Yep, it's because he did his squinty face. He did it the first time you saw episode 2 as well. Yeah, but I wasn't paying as much attention the first time because I know I was going to watch it again to take notes. Justice, what did you think of episode 1? I think it's fine. I do think the time travel, I don't know whether it's potholes or not. It's hard to tell because I haven't really explained a lot. Which I do think is meant to keep the audience in suspense for how it works and then the not knowing. And it does it somewhat well in the story of the show by being hey, the only person who really fucking knows is Nathan. And of course he's not going to fucking tell anyone. It's a giant trade secret. And also, if governments knew, probably illegal. Yeah. So, I guess, yeah, it's probably not, it's not technically plot holes, it's just, yeah, it's ill-explained. It feels messy because it's meant to kind of be messy, I guess. Yeah, fair enough. Would you watch more? Yeah, I would. It's nothing that I'm super interested in, but it has enough going for it. I'm interested, but you have such an easy chance to just fuck it up. Fair enough. I would also watch more. I think the show is intriguing. I like the whole premise. I don't necessarily like any of the characters at this point, but yeah, I'd watch more. Fair. All right. Episode 2 time. There's a chip in her arm. So this episode starts with Connor waking up from a nightmare. This episode starts with a previously on. Thank you very much. We don't do previously ons, and we don't do next time on, which it ended with. We've never done that ever. We're not doing that now. I'm gonna punch you in the dick. Fine. Continue. Connor wakes up from a nightmare of what happened at the end of last episode. Yes. He wakes up very, very panicky. In his own bed. And rushes back to the parking garage. Yeah. Where he finds the Lifeline fixer team they're still there, and so is Nathan, so I have to assume he doesn't live far from there, and they, immediately took him home, and then he woke up way too soon. It feels kind of crazy. They're still there, and he's... I could have sworn it was, night when he saved the guy, but now it's morning, so they've been there for a long time. Yeah, but, and the fixer team still being there makes sense to me. It's crazy to me that the CEO is still there or is there again. Well, later it's implied that Nathan's still there because he has connections with federal agencies. Yeah.
And he's probably using his presence and connections to shut down any investigation into...
Yeah.
Well, actually, we know he's shutting down the investigation into Haley's death. We get that here in this argument where Connor and Nathan get into an argument because Connor's like, why are you shutting down this investigation? And Nathan's like, do you know how much money you just cost us? We can't have Lifeline associated with the death of a random person who has nothing to do with Lifeline.
Yeah, and Connor's like, if you can't have Lifeline associated with death, why is Haley dead? She had a Lifeline.
And then Nathan's like, well, that's your fault. You interfered. If you hadn't interfered,
if you hadn't gotten emotional, if you followed protocol, wouldn't have happened. And Connor's like, what are you fucking doing to get the guy that killed my wife? He's like, Nathan's like, we're not in the revenge business. We're in the insurance business. We're not going to do anything.
We don't kill people. We save people. And Connor's like, well, if you're not going to do anything about it, I will. And Nathan says, you can't use Lifeline resources to do it. I won't help you.
And Connor's like, so are you firing me? And Nathan goes, if I have to. And then Connor goes, well, then I quit.
So then we cut to Skinny.
Well, then we have the opening.
Yes, we have the opening. The terrible opening.
Yeah.
Title card. So we cut to Skinny, and he's rifling through a fridge in a very nice house.
Grabbing some meds initially.
And he sees just bricks of money in plastic wrap in the fridge.
Yeah, so he immediately starts putting it in a bag.
Turns out it's $5 million. He confronts his partner, whose name is Vic, about it.
Which we cut to him as Skinny's loading it.
Yeah.
And there's a ring of the doorbell. And Vic, this man who has been gut shot, starts to crawl to the door. And when Skinny comes back out, Vic is almost there.
And he's calling for help while he's crawling.
And Skinny grabs him by the leg and is like, Vic, a man in your condition shouldn't be getting out of bed. And just drags him all the way back to the couch while Vic screams in pain.
Yeah.
We cut outside the house where we see a man look at the door and then walk away, pulling out a phone to call someone.
Yeah.
There was no resolution to that in this episode, just going to let you know.
Skinny then explains to Vic that he found Vic's money and that he's tired of this life. He's tired of taking all of Vic's shit. He wants out.
And he's going to be nice about it. He's willing to leave Vic with half the money, $2.5 million, if Vic agrees to this deal, which is Skinny gets 2.5 and he's done. Vic doesn't try to find him, doesn't try to do anything to him, just lets him go.
And in addition to that, Skinny will make sure that a doctor comes and fixes Vic up instead of just leaving him to die.
Because apparently, from what Skinny has heard, gut shots, horrible way to go. Which, fair, given everything I've heard, gut shot is one of the worst fucking ways to go.
And Vic says, fuck you.
Yeah.
So Skinny tapes his mouth shut, tapes his hands behind his back, and leaves him there.
Yeah, grabs both things, money, dips.
Justice.
Yeah.
If you're ever in a situation where you're literally dying and your only hope is like, hey, look, you have to give me half of everything you own.
Yeah.
Or you die. I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to leave you to die. The correct answer always is yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sorry, even if I don't like the deal and I plan to kill you still, I say yes and I renege later.
Yeah, yep. So then we
cut to Connor driving up into a parking lot where he meets with Detective Grundy. And we learn from Grundy that he was the first on the scene, and he'd gotten a lead before Lifeline had the entire investigation shut down.
Which is not true. There's no way Grundy was there first. We saw the Lifeline teams pull in.
Yeah, I assume he means he was the first on the scene as far as, like, emergency responders go.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he tells Connor that, yeah, that guy who got away, who was driving.
The shooter.
His street name is Skinny.
And then he's like, look, Connor.
He also gives him a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's the address for Skinny's apartment. And he's like, look, Connor, if you'd shot the guy last night...
a few hours ago?
Would have been self-defense.
You do it now, it's murder.
And Connor's like, yep, thank you for that. I'll be seeing you, Grundy, and just leaves.
Yeah. So then we cut to Skinny bursting into his apartment where he frantically wakes up his girlfriend before rushing into the kitchen to wash his hands of blood. And as he's doing, he's like, get the fuck up, Keisha. Pack your bag, let's go. We gotta go. And she's like, wait, what?
And she's like, why do we gotta go? Where are we going? And he's like, look, shows her the money.
Well, first he yells at her to just do what he says.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets nervous, stressing, and panicking, and starts to cry. He's like, fuck. Walks out of the kitchen, calms down, but he's like, look, we gotta go. Everything's gonna be fine. Just listen to me, get your stuff, let's go.
She's like, where are we going? And he takes the money bags. He's like, anywhere we want.
We just gotta go now.
And the sight of $5 million, like it would for most people, immediately makes her go, yeah, okay, this makes sense, let's go.
Yep, let's abandon everything. I got money. And then we cut to Connor walking up to Skinny's apartment. He goes in.
The door is a little open.
Mm-hmm. We hear water running. And when he gets in, there's no one there. It's a bit of a mess. He walks into the kitchen where the sink's still running and there's some blood on the counter, but Skinny is not there.
He does, however, find a picture of Skinny in his apartment.
And Skinny's mail, which has his real name on it. Reggie Blake.
Yep. The picture of Skinny is from when he was in the military. Apparently, Skinny is ex-military. We then cut to Connor's friend, / a tech from Lifeline, Jay.
Mm-hmm. Calling him.
Who was calling him because he's found the girl from last night, Nora.
Mm-hmm.
So Connor heads to the hospital where she is to see if she may remember anything or has any connections to Skinny and the drug dealers.
Yeah. And the guy that calls him is the tech guy who is the one who seems to sequence the jump locations. He's running the computer for the program.
Maybe not always, but he is.
He does for Connor at the very
He is their
least.
best tech, is what they said.
Yeah, he does it for Connor, and I think I don't think we ever see Haley jump.
We never see Haley jump.
Yeah, we just see the resolution up. So we know he does it for Connor, so maybe they're paired, whatever, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then Connor ends up at the hospital where Nora's at. He's looking at her chart and everything when she wakes up. And he's like, hey, is your mom here? And she's like, I don't have a mom.
Yeah, so the brief summary of this scene. Connor learns essentially nothing, gives the girl a panic attack, finds out she's an orphan.
Yep, and then he leaves.
We then cut to Connor standing in his apartment, staring at a mirror.
Trying to do a tie. He's wearing all black, and then a knock on the door happens, and it's Jack, the tech guy. Jay, sorry. And he's just like, Connor's gonna be like, hey, I need your help. And Jay's like, I don't know how to do a tie.
The guy at the store did this for me.
Yeah. So they have a bit of banter here. Connor asks Jay if he bought the suit, and Jay's like, yeah, man, I'm not gonna rent it. It was a really good deal, you know?
I'm not gonna rent a suit for
Haley's funeral, man.
I wouldn't do that. That's disrespectful, which I don't know how it's disrespectful.
Yeah, neither do I.
It is probably disrespectful when we take a moment to look at how well Lifeline pays its employees.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any hard numbers.
But I'm pretty sure the car Connor has is a Porsche.
And if you look at his house...
It's very nice.
Which is, we don't know where, but it's...
LA vibes.
It's large city.
Mm-hmm.
Could be New York, outskirts of New York, but like...
It looks too spread out and too warm and too arid.
Yeah, so probably LA area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, as they're talking and bantering, Connor is eventually like, hey, I need your help. And Jay's once again like, I told you I don't know how to tie. And Connor's like, no, not about that. I want to get that girl a lifeline.
And Jay's like, fat lot of good that'll do. Even if you get her a lifeline, if she's not paid up, nobody's going to intervene on her behalf.
And Connor's like, Jay's also like, Nathan won't let it happen. And Connor's like, Nathan doesn't have to know. You're the best tech. You can like put her in through the back door, make it where only you get notified. He's like, okay, even if someone do that, who's going to save her? And Connor's like, I will. And Jay's just like, you don't work there anymore.
And Connor's like, I will deal with that. Just get her in.
Jay's like, sure, man, I guess.
So we cut to Nora, who is arriving at the new house of her foster family.
Yep. She's taken in and shown her room.
And the foster mother explains to her that they are a quote-unquote traditional family.
As long as you listen to the man in charge.
As long as you listen to quote-unquote the man of the household.
And do what he says and don't question him, everything will be fine.
They're extremely Christian, by the way.
Yeah. We know this because they immediately cut to dinner where they are praying. And the foster mother immediately calls Nora a pitiable child and thanks the Lord for letting them be able to be there to help her.
And then Duke, the foster father, interrogates her about the death of her father.
Well, first she's like, what happened to your parents? And she's like, my mom left when I was little, and I don't know how my dad died.
But they know that she was there when her dad died, so he doesn't believe her. And so he starts pushing a narrative about how her dad
was a drug dealer.
And a druggie, and he was probably high at the drug deal where he died.
Which he took his daughter to. He took his daughter to a buy. She's like, my dad didn't do drugs anymore. He was clean. He didn't deal drugs. He was a drug dealer, and he died because of it.
And she's like, he was working at the parking garage. And he's like, that's not a real job. You only work at a parking garage to deal drugs.
A normal, innocent person doesn't end up dead underneath the wheels of a drug dealer's car. You were there. You know it. Admit it. And she's like, I don't know. He's like, yes, you do. Say your dad's a drug dealer. She's like, he's not. I don't know how he died. So he looks to his wife and tells her, he just says her name and nods at her. I don't remember what her name was. Irene or something?
Something like that.
So she grabs Nora's plate of food and takes it from her. And then Duke looks at Nora and goes, go to your room. We'll try this again tomorrow.
Classic abuse.
Right?
Just so we're aware, sending your child to bed without dinner is abuse.
Yeah.
Especially because in this case, they don't know if she's ate at all yet today.
Yeah, and also, he's attempting to force a narrative on her, and especially while she's in an emotional state, and it's emotional abuse as well as child neglect, which neglect is a type of abuse.
So we cut to Connor going into Lifeline's building, despite being fired.
And Jack immediately tells him, hey, Nathan's on his way down because you're in here.
His name is Jay.
Jay, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Jack.
I don't know either.
I think it's because my phone auto-corrected to Jack for some reason.
He doesn't even look like a Jack.
I'm aware.
He looks like a Jay.
I'm aware.
So, yeah, Jay's like, you're not allowed here. Nathan's already been contacted. And Connor goes, good, I'll talk to him when he gets here.
Yeah. So then Jay takes off, and Connor grabs a keyboard and moves some things out of his way. The things being some ampules of the
Lifeline implant.
Yeah. And starts pulling up client lists on the computer. When Nathan shows up, he's like, that's company property, right?
Also, it should be noted that when he moves the ampules out of the way, there's 3 of them in, like, the little holder.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that in a second.
And Connor's like, yeah, how many of these are because of me? Nathan's like, 27. Connor's like, yeah, I saved 27 lives.
And Nathan goes, no, Lifeline saved 27 lives.
Because of protocol, and we didn't let things get personal. And Connor's like, no, I saved 27 lives because I let it get personal.
And they argue a bit, and
Connor's like, look, man, bring me back.
And Nathan goes, you just went back to feel your own revenge.
And Connor goes, no, look,
I buried Haley.
I got some closure.
She's in the ground.
She'd want me to help people.
I'm doing this to honor Haley.
So Nathan actually looks conflicted, and then goes, there's a jump happening in 20 minutes.
30 minutes.
30 minutes. It's yours.
So we cut away from this, but as we cut away, we look at the desk where there was 3 Lifeline ampules. There's now only 2. Connor goes to the jump box. Before he jumps, he tells Jay, you have 33 days to find her.
Yeah.
Speaking about Nora. And then he jumps into the future.
Where he then saves Miranda from the first episode.
The client from the first episode that had to be convinced by The Rock and Jasmine in order to get Lifeline.
Yeah. And then he beats the crap out of a mugger who's like, wait, stop, I'm not resisting. And Connor has the line of, I'm not a cop, and then proceeds to beat the guy some more.
Not that being a cop would have stopped him from beating...
Yeah, exactly. He probably would have killed the guy then.
Yeah.
So then he gives Miranda a card, tells her to call. They'll do a follow-up. So now we know that more of their protocol is they do a follow-up after an agent's event.
Yeah. We come back to Nora's new home, which is happening the same night that Connor saves Miranda.
And she's creeping downstairs quietly.
Because typically in this show, unless it specifically tells you that it's in the past or in the future, things are happening at the same time, essentially.
Yeah. So Nora's creeping down the stairs slowly towards the door, starts to open it when a hand comes from off screen, slams it shut. And it's Duke. He's like, what are you doing? No one's supposed to be out of bed.
No one leaves the room at night. It's a rule. And she's like,
I don't know if you've noticed, but you're not in your room.
And then he picks her up and physically throws her into a closet.
And tells her she should be in here to think about everything she's done.
Everything wrong she's done, yeah. And she's going to stay there until she's repentant.
Yeah. She does, when he asks why she's out, she does explain she has to pee, and then he says the whole room thing. And then he traps her into a closet. And then we cut to the next morning.
I do want you to know.
Yeah.
As a 10-year-old child, if I had to go pee at night and a parental figure stepped in, literally threw me in a closet and locked me in the closet instead of letting me go pee, this closet that has none of my stuff in it
is getting covered in piss.
I'm taking all of it, all the jackets and stuff off coat hangers, and I'm just peeing on them.
Yeah, fair.
Because fuck you.
I'm also probably taking the rack out because they're so easy to remove and just breaking some walls.
Because fuck you.
Yeah. But it's the morning. Irene, I think that's her name, so that's what I'm going to call it. I could be wrong. Opens the door and is like, Duke and I are going to church. He thinks you should stay here and reckon with God by yourself.
So then her foster parents leave. Nora leaves the closet, gets an ice cream tub out of the freezer, starts eating ice cream and watching TV.
When the door rings.
And it's Connor, and he's from social services, he says.
Yep, and he's here to give her something that her father left for her. Hey, what do you know? It's a Lifeline device. And she's like, oh, crazy. And he's like, yeah, your dad really loved you.
And she's like, I don't want to stay here. Is there anything we can do to not make me stay here? And he's like,
this is the best I can do for you.
And he's like, I can't actually do anything because I'm not social services.
Yeah. So he gives her the implant, and then he says he needs to inject her with something, which we know didn't have to happen to Miranda, so he's just knocking this kid out because he can. Assumingly, maybe he doesn't remember he was here. It's unclear what the drug is, but... So he gives it to her, and I was immediately expecting, oh, this is going to go bad, because she's not in the closet. She's now been medically knocked out.
And
there's a tub of ice cream on the table, and the television is on.
But we cut over to Jay, who is moving her Lifeline information to his private terminal rather than the board.
And then encrypting it.
And then we jump 6 years into the future.
Yep.
Nora is now 16. Connor's still working for Lifeline and seems to have developed a drinking problem because in between his jumps, all we see is him drinking whiskey.
Yeah, we really only get one shot of him. We start outside. His mailbox is overflowing with mail. And he is inside. He's still wearing his suit, still dressed like he normally is, but he is day drinking.
And then we cut to Nora's foster parents sitting at a kitchen table as Nora rushes into the kitchen with a hoodie up. And
they give her a stink eye and glare at her.
She sits down to eat dinner.
And Duke is immediately like, you're late.
And she's like, it was 5 minutes. The bus broke down.
I ran as fast as I could.
I literally sprinted here.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're 5 minutes late. You don't get dinner. So she stabs a piece of meat and yanks it towards her plate. After she pulls her fork out, he grabs her plate and chucks it against the wall.
Yeah. So she just stands up and leaves.
He then starts yelling about how you don't leave the table without permission because I'm the man of the house. You're just a woman.
Yeah. So she goes into her room and locks the door. He's yelling at her to get back here. And then he gets to the door and he's like, yeah, yelling at her, unlock the door. This type of behavior will not be tolerated in his house.
And she's like, that's good because I'm not going to be in this house much longer. Fuck you.
She's packing a bag. And she pauses for a moment to speak to her goldfish that she did bring with her.
It has to be a new goldfish. There's no way that goldfish is 6 years old.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool.
But to speak to the goldfish, is like, don't worry, little buddy, I'll be back for you. She walks over to the window, which we can see has been nailed shut, but there's some nails that have been pulled up some.
It's been screwed shut because she's unscrewed them.
Yeah. And she pulls out the screws, and then Duke gets the door open, but she's gone, and the window is open.
And then we cut to Jay in his lab or office, and we see on his screen that her tracker has gone red.
Yep. She will die in 33 days.
That's the end of episode 2. Justice, what did you think of episode 2 of Lifeline?
It doesn't really do much. It just establishes more, and honestly, it does feel like if the show had aired on television, it would have been a 2-episode premiere, just because the first one doesn't do much to continue on, and the second one is still finishing setting up the overall plot.
It's all very much set up.
Yes.
That said, would you watch episode 3? Would you watch episode 4?
Yeah, probably. I'm still interested in the time travel bits.
It is a fact that at this point you're already 25% of the way through the series, because the series only has 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Because as YouTube did with all of its original sci-fi shows, it got canceled fairly quickly.
Yay!
Which is part of the reason why we were talking about it, to bring attention to what are pretty good sci-fi shows.
Yeah.
This one is probably, in my opinion, the worst of the 3.
Fair enough.
But it's also the first one. Its budget is definitely lower than the next 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's given only a 30-minute window instead of hour-long windows.
Yeah.
Oh, 25-minute windows instead of 45-minute windows.
But overall, I would say the show is fine. I think parts of it are intriguing. I do think Jay is a more interesting character so far than most other people. Duke is a massive dick. And there's always the fun part of maybe we'll get comeuppance for him. Probably not, but one can hope. Connor still does not interest me.
Connor is a very vanilla protagonist.
Yes. And we didn't see Jasmine at all in this episode.
Yeah, Jasmine's not in this episode.
Which is weird. I have to assume she has more importance, given the fact that otherwise we have no reason to see that she was a sales rep, got a promotion, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
but
it feels like she definitely has more importance in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would also watch more of the show. It's not bad. These 2 episodes definitely lay a base work for what could be a good story, so.
Yeah. You know what the base idea of some of this stuff makes me think of, though?
What's that?
Information from the future being used to affect the past, to change timelines, to ensure our company's dividend payouts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it. I don't remember if we reviewed it or we just talked about it. The one where the people use the neural network to go into the future.
Oh, yes.
It's actually a different timeline.
I know what you're talking about.
Where they're using
the peripheral.
Yeah, peripheral. Where they're using the alternate timelines to test products or
which
how things affect.
Which is also a really cool sci-fi show that got canceled after 1 season.
Yeah, but like there are vibes about it that remind me of that.
And it's also based off a book.
Yep, I need to read those books though.
But yeah, that show was really good too. This show is not as good, not as high quality, but it's also produced by a YouTube channel.
Corridor Digital, which they do some really good effects work on their channel.
Whereas The Peripheral was produced by Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
The difference in those companies.
Yeah, one involved The Rock, one didn't.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I think that's it for Lifeline.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out to us and talk about your favorite sci-fi shows that got canceled after 1 season, sans Firefly, because we know that's the right answer.
Sci-fi shows, as in science fiction shows, not sci-fi shows, as in Sci-Fi the Channel shows.
Mm-hmm.
There may be overlap, but they're not the same.
And again, sans Firefly, we already know that's the answer. You can reach out to us a myriad of ways to do that. First and foremost, we have our Blue Sky at Copilots Review.
You can email us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
Or you can find both of those at copilotsreview.simplecast.com, along with links to our YouTube, our Twitter,
Discord,
which we no longer use, our Discord, our Patreon, our Blue Sky,
our
email, not our second hidden email.
That's somewhere in a episode from long ago.
But yeah, if you want to reach out to us, those are all the ways you would do it.
And until next time, wait, no, that's not how we close. Thanks for flying with us, and please, I don't remember how we do this.
Thanks for flying with us.
Catch
and
you
please,
next flight, whatever.
Fly again.
Oh yeah, please fly again soon.
There you go.